to you, what does spirituality have anything to do with crypto or blockchain?
Mm, good question. So, in a spiritual sense, I would say everything is spiritual. And right now, well, let me back up. I'd say, like, the way I look at spirituality, it is alignment with natural law. And if we observe nature, nature is generative. Nature is changing and optimizing and growing, and nature's always doing its thing and creating further abundance for its environment and people through its cycles.
Mm.
Now, the current system of fiat money and usury, which, if you don't know what usury is, that is lending out money to someone and charging them interest on it, which in the Bible, it used to be not allowed. It used to be a sin, or usury used to be looked down upon a lot. Now it's just commonplace. And then we have all these institutions, these people who can control the money, who can just print more money. They're taking advantage of this system. They're lending out stuff, providing zero value to anyone, but they're lending out this stuff. And then people have to pay back what they lended out plus interest, sometimes for the rest of their life, with their own blood, sweat, tears, time, when the people lending it are literally just printing it out of nowhere sometimes. So I've seen this happen for a long time. I've been in groups involving liberty and financial freedom. And if you want liberty, you got to be able to have financial freedom too. If you want sovereignty, you have to be able to provide for your family, for your community. So we've known the financial system has been screwed up since 1913, but even more so since that was when the Fed was created, but even more so since the dollar stopped being backed by the gold.
Mm-hmm.
So really, we have monopoly money right now. They're printing it more than ever with COVID. And why I like crypto is specifically we can design a system of money that's more in line with natural law. That's good for everyone, good for the whole ecosystem, the birds, the bees, the plants, and that is generative, where right now we're in one that is the opposite of that. So in that sense, that's how I kind of think of crypto and spirituality, and bringing the power back to the individual, because that's where everyone's power is. It's inside of themselves. And if we let these bankers control our money, we are giving our power up. Cryptocurrencies, specifically the decentralized ones, allow us to be in control.
Yeah, awesome. That's a great answer. Yeah, yeah, that was really well put. Yeah, it's that. See, you did really well with that question, because I struggle to talk about spirituality a lot, because it's hard to put in a container all that is, right? Because when you say spiritually, like, without using that word, you're always talking about spirituality, whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really easy to see, or to fall in the trap, I guess, that like finances are completely separate from spirituality, but like it's a part of the game too, this game of life, and it's just something we came up with. Like when I first like really had my real initial awakening, I went through what I think most of us are going through, and that's like becoming aware that the system has been used against us, but then we think that this problem is a bad system, this evil thing out there that we have to fight. And yeah, it takes a while to grow out of that, like, because I definitely see like science and spirituality being like two sides of the same coin, and this is getting less like surprising to hear, and you can hear more people just over your shoulder at the grocery store starting to say these types of things, and it's inspiring, because just 10-20 years ago, like, you know, you'd be an outcast, and it instills quite a bit of gratitude knowing that, like, when I often drift into struggles in life, I think about how hard it would be to be me just 20 years back, you know, in that world, in a world where cannabis was still that frowned upon. You know, if I think I think it's a problem today with people still like, how can people still hate weed and not get it? Like just 30 years ago, it was so much uglier. You know?
Mm.
But
Yeah, I think you touch on like an important point, which is it's like on the highest level, everything is spiritual. Nothing is bad on the highest level. Nothing is good. You can't have one without the other. And this is providing the friction for people to make choices and to change. So we had a very oppressive system for a long time. Who's to say that's bad? That's just, you know, natural law, the yin and the yang, the expansion and the contraction. We're always going in cycles, and the Tao is always dancing with itself between good and evil. And when one polarity gets um, when it's polarized too far to one direction, which is how it's been the last couple hundred years for us, go back to balance. So, and we see the biggest pullbacks, like the rubber band coming back to balance, when we are the most polarized away from that beautiful balanced yin and yang. So right now I see this as like, I think we're on the pullback now. I think, you know, in the last 10 years, we reached the peak. We might be at the peak right now, but either way, it's time to snap back. And we're seeing that with the creation of these new systems to create the opposite of the world of oppression, the lack of sovereignty and freedom, the lack of, well, not the lack of, but the oppressed minds and just oppressed people living in the dark without true information and being manipulated by others. So it's all a beautiful game, and I think that's an important perspective to have, because if you get too into it, it can be really draining. And for many years, I was into the conspiracy theories, or I should say conspiracy facts for most of them, because many of them have come true. But we always have the power of our focus, and it's okay to know these things, because how can you get a parasite out of your body if you don't even know it's there? So we need awareness on these things so we can do stuff about it. But if I have a parasite on my body and I just say, oh no, this is terrible, I have a parasite on my body and it's eating away at me, and I just think about it all the time, and I just, you know, go on the downward spiral, that's not going to do anything. So